can't lie to you. I strangled her to death. I made the covenant with you. I put the ring on your finger. Then at last you want to do this to me. I don't care. I sat on top of her. I strangled her neck.
Welcome back, guys. I trust you've been staying safe. Now, what you heard is the confession of a boyfriend who had just taken the life of his girlfriend that he had made a blood covenant with, and this confession came minutes before he would also go on afterwards to end his life. What happened and what led to this? They were so in love, and they even went to the extent of making a blood covenant and then exchanging rings, promising each other forever. How can such a love end with such a fatality? If you are ready for this true crime story, just buckle up and let's go. Before we get into the case at hand, kindly support our campaign against femicide by going to the comment section and typing "Say no to femicide" or "Please stop the femicide." We appreciate the support. Again, our analytics also let us know that most of you are watching our videos without subscribing to the channel. Please help us grow by hitting the subscribe button so we can push the campaign further. And again, if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much. Don't forget to share our videos and spread the campaign. Now to the substantive case at hand. Today's case involves a couple, a very beautiful couple from the beginning when they started their relationship. This is a relationship between a man by name Kaluwayo Imweka and his girlfriend Mapalu Masiku. And this case is from Zambia in Africa, and it happened exactly on the 13th of December 2022 between 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. These guys were together and they were having the best of relationships. They were both students of a nursing institution whose name I will reserve for now, but it's reported that their relationship was one for the ages. There were people on campus who were looking up to them to build and model their relationship after what they saw these two people have. They were lovebirds who were deeply in love, or so it seemed. So much so did they love themselves that they decided that they were going to have a blood covenant. Now here in Africa, blood covenants are a big deal. For those of you who don't know, it is believed that blood covenants have a supernatural or a spiritual underpinning, such that the moment a couple decides to take a blood covenant, they are bonded together as one spiritually, and nothing can tear them apart. Therefore, if anyone tries to break such a couple apart, there are consequences that will be visited on the person trying to break them apart, especially if that person is one of the two people who have taken the blood covenant. In this particular instance, that is what happened, where one person was seeking to break away from the relationship. But before I get into that, there is another plot to the twist, where it was being alleged that the gentleman, Kaluwayo, was actually also married to a wife and had 2 kids. So for me, I don't think that this is the consequence of the blood pact that they had. I think that it's more about, a love triangle gone wrong. Why do I say this? You have entered into a blood pact and you happen to also be a married man. So you've also taken marital vows. It's believed both of these are spiritual things. That in itself is going to create a problem. Mapalu, the young lady, was actually in her early 20s, and as such, I think someone could argue she was genuinely in love with him, But I think maybe it was more of an infatuation because he is actually already married. So, what business do you have falling in love with a married man for that matter? And he was in his early 30s, whilst she was in her early 20s. So, they had almost a decade between them in terms of age gap. But here they were. And if that report was true, then it meant that Kaluwayo was actually cheating on his wife with Mapalu. That was a love triangle, but it was happening on the blind side of Kaluwayo's wife, who is not reported to have been able to know about this or taking any actions against it. So it seemed like they were just with themselves and doing their own thing, but unfortunately, it would become a full-blown love triangle when another gentleman entered the fray, and he was able to steal the heart of Mapalu from Kaluwayo, such that it got to a point in this relationship where Mapalu told Kaluwayo that she wanted nothing to do with him anymore. She had fallen out of love with him, and she was actually going to spend the rest of her life with a new guy called Patrick. This was a bitter pill for Kaluwayo to swallow, and I can imagine because he has actually been married, but he has put his family on the line just to be with you, taking a blood covenant with you, and they even exchanged rings after that. And it seems he had believed so much in Mapalu and the blood covenant that he felt they were going to be each other's forever. But I think it's stupid because then what happens to your wife and kids? Well, no disrespect to a dead guy, but I think that was a stupid move. Now, when Mapalu said this to Kaluwayo, that she was leaving him for a man called Patrick and that she wanted nothing to do with him, Kaluwayo was distraught. He made attempts to reason up with Mapalu not to leave him and their relationship, but she was adamant. So eventually, per what Kaluwayo confessed in the phone call that he made to a friend minutes after ending the life of Mapalu, this is what he said happened. According to him, he called Mapalu and told her that he needed her to meet him somewhere so they can have a conversation about the breakup that she was pushing for. And the location he suggested was in a nearby bush. Now, for me, that is a straight red flag. Why would you want to meet your boyfriend in the bush, especially when you are threatening to end the relationship and go with another man? Maybe meet in a public place, but some way, somehow, Mapalu just felt it was okay and she obliged and met up with him in the bush. Now, according to what Kaluwayo confessed, when they met in the bush, he again asked Mapalu to reconsider, to which she objected and insisted that she was out of love with him and she had found her new love in this guy called Patrick and she was going to spend the rest of her life with him. Now, I can imagine that this would be a bitter pill for Kaluwayo to swallow, especially given what he had risked to be with her. And this is where love triangles begin to get dangerous. So, according to Kaluwayo, he then asked Mapalu what she expects him to do, turning her back on him like that. To which she responded that she doesn't care and he should try and move on with his life. But if he prefers, she would still allow him to make love to her right there and then and impregnate her. But even after that, she will still go and spend the rest of her life with Patrick. I don't know, but I think that has a disgusting twist to it. And I think what would have happened if Mapalu hadn't died and she got pregnant and she was with Patrick? Was she going to pass off the baby to Patrick as his or what? Well, I guess we would never know because we didn't get to that point, unfortunately. and they actually made love in the bush, after which Kaluwayu was still bent on not letting her go, and when he couldn't convince her because she was adamant on ending the relationship with him, he felt that if he couldn't have her, then nobody was going to have her, such that if she is going to end the relationship, then he was also going to end her life. So per his own confession, he sat on her, held her by the neck, and choked the life out of her. When the act was done, he took his phone and then he called a female friend of his and confessed everything to this friend. He then told her that he was also going to end his life and that they can find him when they find the phone on which he is confessing through. After this, he got a rope and he took his own life by hanging himself. And just like that, the seemingly beautiful love story had come to an abrupt end as a horror story. This case rocked the country of Zambia to its core, and it became a reference point for advising the youth, especially on what to do and not to do when entering into relationships. It was at this point that the two schools of thought came up. I'll get into them and I'll let you know which one I agree with and why I disagree with the other. The first school of thought was that both of these lovebirds had to lose their lives as it did, or as it played out, because they had entered a blood covenant and they didn't follow through with the requirements of the blood covenant. Because when they took the blood covenant, they promised each other forever that they would be with each other forever. But then Mapalu was threatening to break away from it, and that's how come she had to lose her life. And it's fitting per the consequences of a blood covenant that she would also lose her life at the hands of the other person she's trying to betray. Hence, the outcome that Kaluwayu was the one who took her life. For me, I think that's trash. I don't think that is true, or that has any water or holds any water, because for me, I go with the second school of thought, which is that this is just a jealous person caught up in a love triangle, not ready to let go, and taking out his bitterness and vengeance on a lady who has broken his heart. And again, if Kaluwayu was reportedly married, as was alleged, then I don't know what business he has expecting loyalty from a side chick, not to talk of why he would even go in for a side chick at all. So I think that the second school of thought holds more ground. It has been proven over time, over decades of human existence, that love triangles do not end well. And unfortunately, this one took the lives of these two beautiful souls. Personally, I believe that no matter the problems they were facing as a couple, Mapalo should have taken her time to have a mature and objective breakup conversation with Kaluwayu, and maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't have ended the way it did, because all the deaths happened at his hand. And the first one seemed to happen because he was so hit directly with the pain that Mapalo was dishing out with the kind of words she was choosing to churn at him. I mean, if you've had a blood covenant with a guy or somebody, how do you tell them to their face that I don't want nothing to do with you, I found love with a new person, I'm leaving you, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with them? That can set people off a cliff. I think she should have managed it gradually with him and then ended it such that they would end it on an amicable note and lives wouldn't have been lost. I wish them a peaceful rest wherever they find themselves, and I wish their families the strength to move on. They have since been buried, but this has become a legendary folklore out there, used to advise the youth and people entering into relationships What do you think these guys could have done better? Do you even believe in blood covenants? Or do you think that the first school of thought is actually what led to both of them losing their lives? Let me know whatever you think in the comment section. Share this video with others, share our content, give us feedback on our other videos, and subscribe if you already haven't done so. Help us reach 2,000 subscribers by August this year. We appreciate your support so far, and like I've always been saying, please keep an eye out and stay safe out there. Catch you next time.